That is absolutely true. But the point is that for many of us, we have different influences around how we're parented, how significant people in our life affect our self perception and our self image. And so when we talk about imposter syndrome, you're absolutely right. There's a pervasive sense of self doubt, the feelings of inferiority, and ultimately that we may be a fraud and that our accomplishments and wins are not necessarily deserving, but might be there for different reasons. Imposters quite often really attribute success to external factors. So when it comes to locus of control or attribution, imposters look to other variables. So they may say things like, I was just lucky, that person was really kind to me, that individual is really reinforcing and a great cheerleader, right place, right time. And rarely do imposters own their wins. Rarely do they say, this actually is due to my hard work, my talent, my attributes, things that I bring to the table that help differentiate me.
That's so smart, Cindy. I love how you initially started the conversation by identifying one of the most important characteristics of imposter syndrome, which is, do you attribute your wins, your successes to your hard work, to your preparation, to your skill, your talent, your experience? Or do you always attribute your successes and wins to outside external third-party factors like right place, right time, I had an important sponsor, I was given a break? And I think that that is really typical of a lot of women that I have certainly known in incredible leadership positions who have done phenomenal things in their career. And yet they always tend to attribute their successes to others rather than taking that glory. Now, can you explain a little bit about how women that are uniquely high performing, those high performing women, how they tend to be subject to imposter syndrome more so than others?
So that's a great question. And there are a number of different reasons. So if we look at it from early influences and we look at some of the messaging that we received as we were growing up, it's quite intriguing. So there's a traditional, or what you would think is the expected path. If you grow up in a family of high achievers who've done well, whatever your definition of well and success is, then there is pressure, whether it's actually explicit pressure from parents to say that you need to find your way to repeat my success, or whether it's implied because you have high profile parents who are luminaries in their field. And although they don't message, and they may even say the opposite, we want our children to find a happy path, whatever that path is, there still is that pressure because there's extraordinary accolades that you receive as that luminary parent that parents are privy to. So part of that is due to that parenting. Other times, it's interesting, parents will in fact somehow allow their children to feel special and extraordinary. And these are well-meaning messages around wanting our children to feel that they have a sense of deserving. They are entitled to options and great things in life. However, when children grow up and get into the real world, then although they are bright and talented, whether they are men or women, they may not necessarily be so special, and you end up comparing yourself to others. And so linking it back to women who are high achievers, there's a tendency to compare ourselves to others at the table. And when we compare, then that's usually a faulty equation because there always are people in the room who are smarter, who are brighter, who are more talented, who are more equipped. But what I always say to my clients is, when is good good enough? And if you have a bar where you're comparing yourself, then what happens is even when you reach that bar, you're never happy. So I'll say to my client, okay, you got it. You now reached you wanted to achieve a budget where you came in under 90%. and you got it, or you achieved your targets by 85%. Are you happy now? And of course, the answer is no, because I now need to do more. I need to push that bar further. And so then the question I ask is, well, when exactly do you think you will be able to rest and really achieve a sense of pride for your accomplishments? And the answer is, I actually don't know. And the reason they don't know is because that target keeps moving. And so comparing yourself is probably a self-fulfilling prophecy relative to imposter syndrome, because we have a needle and a benchmark that we really can't compare ourselves to and then be happy with. And so that's part of the answer to your question, Linda, about why is it that high achieving women have challenges around their self-perception. There are very talented people that are surrounded by them who are higher achievers who may have accomplished more, rather than really owning the wins and enjoying the wins that you have and the achievements that you have.
That's right. And it's funny because my PhD in clinical psychology was all about social comparison. And interestingly, social comparison metrics among those people that would describe themselves subjectively as being happy, balanced, they have a high level of subjective well-being. In all cases, those people tend to attribute their wins to themselves. They tend to believe that they're slightly better than average on almost everything. So there is an incredible link between feeling good about your achievements and your accomplishments and really owning that with overall well-being, overall subjective well-being. So if we are in a place, Cindy, where we just feel as though at any moment, someone's going to find out that we're really not smart enough, we're really not talented enough, we really don't have the right background, we really somehow slid in under the radar into the position that we're in and we don't deserve it. If we're starting to feel those things, how do you recommend that when we recognize it, either in our mindset, in our thought patterns, or even as a feeling, a physical feeling in our body? How do we come to recognize that? And then what can we do to overcome that, to take steps to address that?
Terrific question. So first off, in terms of not deserving, if you have a seat at the table, then you have a seat at the table because you're not a poster child. No organization is benevolent and decides that they're going to take care of that individual. You've earned that seat. And so it's not due to good fortune or good luck. And so what we need to be doing is taking that self-talk, which is generally negative, generally based on irrational thinking, based on your point, subjective kinds of statements that we make to ourselves, and then compare it to the facts. What are the facts? What is my record? Have I really messed up? Sure, I've made mistakes. We all have, and we've had some missteps. But along your trajectory, personal or career-wise, I doubt there have been significant real failures that you can't get up and regroup from. So, and also the reason that people are successful is that they've advanced and they've made a contribution. And so to look at those facts, and again, not to compare. And when we think about I'm not deserving, perhaps it has to do with maybe, again, some messages about the importance of being humble, and that those are family values about being humble and not necessarily being in front of the room. But what I would suggest is that the rules of engagement at work are very different than the rules of engagement in your personal life. So it's important, in fact, to what I would call create a humble sense of confidence. So humble confidence means we have enough ego to say, I own this, I'm the architect of this, I've done this. And yes, it was with and through other people, and it wasn't myself, but I was an important contributor to this, and I want to be able to be seen and viewed and evaluated that way.
Yeah, and to me, that also sounds like celebrating wins. not necessarily equating that with taking credit, right? You're not taking credit for all of the wins and all the achievements, because it's very rarely that any leader accomplishes anything in isolation. It's with and through other people. And so it's not about taking credit for other people's contributions or for the entire accomplishment, achievement, or success, but it's at least celebrating your participation in something that went well. And I think that there's so much wisdom in celebrating yourself, your achievement, your accomplishment, as well as the team that helped you create that win. And to me, Cindy, that also equates to this idea of a sort of a growth mindset versus a mastery mindset. And so if you have a growth mindset, you're also open to failure. You're also open to the possibility that you're going to experiment with some things. You're going to try some things. There may be some things you're not particularly good at the first 4 or 5 times. The first few attempts, you may actually fail. But with a growth mindset, you see that as a possible learning opportunity. In a mastery mindset, if you were to fail, then that often means that you yourself are a failure. So can you talk a little bit about how to adopt a growth mindset as a way of overcoming imposter syndrome?
Absolutely. So I'll just go back to your first point, which is about celebrating your wins. And for sure that when we enter into a room, you may believe that you have a great idea or sometimes even the best idea. Winning in that sense relative to the team is, are you able to facilitate a discussion that creates the best possible solution? And if you do, and if the team leaves the room or the discussion with each member believing and feeling they've contributed, then you as the leader, you as that team member, in fact, are part of owning because you brought out the best in others. And therefore, that's something that you need to own and absolutely feel proud of, because it is about shared wins and how did you contribute to that. And if you've been able to facilitate that dialogue, then it really is about your success as a member around partnering and collaborating. So in terms of failure, I think there are a number of points. So it's always said that failure is important because it teaches us about how to be tough, how to be resilient. And when we stand up, the idea is that, number one, most of us, if our career is long enough, have had failures of some kind or another. And you're right, I don't know a single human in this universe, anywhere in the world, who's been able to be successful all by themselves. So when we fail, the idea is you go back and then you think about what are the learnings and teachings from that? How do I get new information, new data by talking to other people who are going to change my perspective, who are going to give me different approaches around what I'm trying to solve for. And then the idea is we take that failure and shape it over and over and over again. And the saying goes that it takes many years for an overnight success. So the idea is that most of us who are successful, it comes with time, it comes with resilience, it comes with tenacity, and it comes with not giving up. And those leaders, those individuals are highly compelling and they're contagious. They're attractive. You want to surround yourself with those people because they show their vulnerability. They are able to admit that they've made mistakes. They are able to say this is their 1,005th try to get this right. Because it's humanizing and it's approachable and it's intimidating when we see leaders who are not accessible because we assume that they had it right from day one, rather than leaders who say, I've been helped by many people along the way, whether it's formal, informal mentors, to get me here. And that's something that I'm thankful about. And those leaders also look at mentoring as reverse mentoring. So they look for mentors who are younger than them, who have a different level of life experience, knowledge, that can add to where they're going and the journey that they're on and how they want to contribute.
That's